Louisiana Grills Founders Series LG1200 arrived last week, but it snowed, so I had them put it in the shed. Came really nicely packaged with the plastic all around it, and then these black ties to keep it together. So I'm gonna open this up. All right, here comes the opening for the first time of the box. Looks like it's really nicely packaged in there. Got the hopper over here, the barrel, nicely packaged with good protection all around. All right, time to get this bad boy out of here. So it appears that the barrel and the hopper come fully assembled. You can see with the nice stainless silver on the top. The shelf over here is a separate piece that we can take out, set aside. And I'm pretty sure this is gonna take two people to get out of the box and onto the patio over there. All right, so got everything taken out. You can see here's the barrel and the hopper still on my hand truck. We'll get the legs up on that soon. And then here's all the other pieces: manuals, hardware, drip bucket, probes. I believe that goes over the firebox, over the igniter, the caster wheels, 2 locking, 2 regular. We have the legs, we have the front shelf, we have the upper grate, the deflector, the bottom tray of the unit, the side tray, the other piece that goes over the heat deflector that opens and closes for the direct sear, the handle, and we have 3 stainless steel grates. And then lastly, we somewhere have the griddle. We'll find that after. All right, we're gonna get this all put together on the legs, and then we'll be back. Found the griddle. Griddle comes packaged underneath the hopper here, so we'll take that out once we get the main unit off of the hand truck. First step in construction is to tilt the barrel on its side like so that we can get the legs underneath over here with the hopper up in the air. Also inside of the hopper were 2 more handles, and as I mentioned before, underneath the hopper in the shipping container was the griddle that you can use to replace one of the grates to be able to griddle inside of your Louisiana grill. All right, here it is, all set up. We have the hopper on the left side, the front shelf and the bottom shelf, the side shelf, and then around to the back where you can see some of the air vent holes. On the bottom we have 2 locking casters on the right side of the grill and 2 standard casters that don't swivel on the left side. Here we have the control panel, which we have yet to power on, and the sear station control, which we'll show in a second. All right, so up here we have a label that will be removed that tells you all the different pellets and what they're best made with. I typically just use a competition, which you can see here is good for pretty much everything. So you'll fill, set, and grill. All right, so pellet fuel. There's a motor, an auger, a fan, an igniter, and a burn grate inside. So this shows you exactly what's happening inside. You can see that it comes from the pellets in the hopper down using the fan, and the auger pushes it through into the fire pot, which ignites, sending the air up to the heat shield and around. And then if you move the heat shield slider, you can get direct flame. So as I mentioned earlier, 1,205 total square inches of cooking space, 29-pound wood pellet hopper capacity, and is both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled. And then over here, if I remove this shelf, which I'll put back on after, a little difficult one-handed, you can see that the Louisiana Grills Founders Series 8-in-1 cooking experience, the versatility. So it can grill, smoke, bake, roast, sear, braise, char grill, and barbecue. So I'm gonna remove this little instruction page once we're done, but oh, and also down here you can see the hopper that the grease will come out of. Now this shelf just simply clips in there and there. So you put it in like so. And then on this side as well. And it'll just sit in. And then you pull this up. And underneath here, you have to take these and pull it down to lock it into place. And then you have some tool hooks. Now if we open up the inside here, well actually, let's go around the back real quick. You can see the air vent holes. There is a little knob here. It allows you to close them about halfway to change the amount of smoke that is inside. And then on the back here, you have the power cord with a nice handy area to wrap it up when you're not using it. And this is where you can change out the pellets. So simply unscrew the knob. You move this over to the right, pull it out, and your pellets will come out here. Put it back up, push it up, let that flap come back, and screw it closed. You have a handle over here to move it. You have a handle on the front to raise the barrel, and you have a handle on the hopper lid to raise the hopper lid. So let's start here. You can see there's the window here to see the pellets that are inside. Right now I don't have any pellets in there, but if you raise this up, you'll see it has the honeycomb protector so that you can't get your hands in there and get it caught on the auger down there. This is not removable, it doesn't appear. Appears to be in there pretty solid. And your 29-pound pellet capacity, you can see right back there, that's where the pellets would flow out with the pellet cleanout that I mentioned before. Otherwise, the pellets are just gonna fall into that auger. The auger will be spinning, pushing the pellets through. Some information, a label here says do not remove. We'll leave that on there. As I showed you before, the control panel, which is not plugged in right now, so we'll get to that after. And the sear station open and close, which we'll show you in a minute. You can keep this closed. And then underneath, I don't know if I can get under there, there is the probe connections and the power switch. All right, so front shelf. Simply lift it up, it locks into place. Nice stainless steel, Louisiana Grill embossed. And then under here, you just pull on these, there's one on each side, and it'll drop the shelf down. Now this is similar to the shelf on the right. This is just in by setting the little clips in. It's not screwed in, so it can be removed rather easily. This here, I've heard other people mention, is for a future add-on, that you'll remove this and potentially a cold smoker box. I don't know anything for sure about that, but that's what I've heard. So that allows, when you open up this very well put together, very heavy duty, great construction lid, you can see over here, if I were to move that handle I just mentioned, it opens and closes. But for now, we'll keep it closed. So inside, all the components are in here with the exception, of course, of the griddle, which we will put on later. But you have this upper shelf that locks in nicely. You can see if I wanted to, I can tilt it up a little bit and move it to the next one on both sides. Ooh, I'm a little too far on that side. On this side, you can see it's one forward, and you can continue to go to the front and be a little more forward for ease of loading. I think this will help me a lot when I'm trying to put jerky on here. There's one other one here in the front. I'm not exactly sure why that's there. Maybe I'm having some user error here, but when I put it there, it kind of just tilts forward. So I'm sure that's some sort of user error that I'll figure out after. But for now, we'll put it on the furthest one. Over here, you have 3 separate, very, very high quality stainless steel grates. So 3 separate makes it a lot easier to clean than some other models. And you can remove this one here, take it out completely without breaking the grill, and put the griddle attachment right there. Now, what I'm gonna do here, now that I have that one off, is show you right here. This is the sear slider. So here's your main burn. I'm not sure what they call it, but essentially that's what allows the grease to drip down it and out into a grease trap down there that ultimately will go into a grease bucket. But over here, it'll allow the sear station. So if I were to just simply move this over to the left, you'll see this that's currently closed open up. So if I move it to the left, there you go. Now you can see straight down into the burn pot, which allows the flame to come through for direct sear. So now if I were to push it to the right, it closes it, and it'll allow the fire to hit and kind of go around the barrel convection style. Now I'm going to put this grate back in a little smoother than I took it out, hopefully. And one thing I really like here is that you can see they have a little place where you can put your finger to pull them up rather than having to try and grab in there. So you can see really nice thick steel construction. It has this gasket on it all the way around to keep the heat retention. And I'm sure that also helps in keeping the integrity of the lid. And then underneath here, I'll take all of this out and start the video again, but you have that main plate that allows the heat to kind of move around the grill while also taking the grease out to the grease trap with the slider. I'm going to remove that and show you inside the base where the burn pot is, as well as the grease trap area. And then also one more thing before I do that, you can see here a nice handy interior grill light that we will test out later once I get this thing powered on. So for now, we're gonna cut the video and pull out all the inners so you can see what's beneath. While we're here, I'll show you this flame broiler main plate that I mentioned before. So here's the slider, here's the main plate. Simply remove the slider by lifting it up. There are two places where it inserts, there and there. And you can see on here, you have the little pin that goes in the smaller hole, and then that larger rectangle is where these go. So now here's the main plate that sits nicely right on this little tab. So if you pull this up off that tab, and then you can remove the whole thing. Again, one-handed is not terribly easy, but we'll get it. So we pull it straight out, and you can see that it was resting on that little shelf that separates the main barrel here from where the grease goes in and down that hole to the grease bucket beneath. Over here, you have the burn pot. And here you have this that comes out. So there's where the actual hot rod is that ignites the pellets. This piece here needs to sit in there properly, so you want to make sure you get that up and under and this down to allow this to be sticking out of the hole of the hot rod and for this to be flush here. This is what moves the slider back and forth to allow for the direct heat. So the pellets will fall down out of the auger into here and they'll burn, and it will send the flames or the heat up and around. So that's the inside of the grill. So now I'm going to put all the components back into it. And oh, one more thing over here. This is the, I haven't unpacked it yet, but this is the griddle that simply will sit on the left side. If you remove the left grate and put it on the left side there to allow the direct flame to come through. So now I'm going to put everything back in here. I'm going to do the initial burn-in, which I will check the instructions, but I'm pretty sure you do it for at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, to burn off all of the excess oil and anything that might be in there that you don't want on your food from the manufacturer. That'll all burn off, and then we'll be ready to cook on it. Before I do the first burn-in, I figured I would plug this in and do a little overview of the control panel. So first thing you're going to do is connect to a grounded power source. I have one right here. So I'm going to unravel this. I don't have to unravel it all the way since it's a short distance. Plug it in. All right, so now come around to the front panel, and I'm going to pull this cover down. And as I mentioned earlier, underneath here is a power button, so I'm just going to flip it. And there you go, there's the power indicator. So first things first, we're gonna hit that power. And it starts to boot up. You can see all the different things within the control panel. I actually have the manual here just to make sure I don't give any bad information. So that button that we had just pressed is the power on, power off on the screen. Of course, you have the master power on and off underneath that I mentioned. This flashing Wi-Fi symbol is, of course, the Wi-Fi indicator. I will set that up with the Louisiana Grills app later on. Now, moving across, you can see the probes. So you have no, P, and F. The F, of course, is Fahrenheit. I'm in the United States, so we're using Fahrenheit, and that no P is no probe. So we have to plug in the probes for those to pop on, but that would show us what the temperature is for the food probe. Here you have the time. I believe that is the amount of time that you are cooking, but I will confirm that. So that's that you press the time button to activate recipe settings. So then you use plus or minus to switch through the recipe stages, or the arrow button to switch through the different stages. So basically, if you're doing a recipe where you want it to cook at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time and then switch to a higher or lower temperature, you would have cooking stages. Here's the actual temperature. It's kind of cold here in New York today in February. The cook temperature. So right now this grill powers up at 350 degrees. The Louisiana Grill Founders Series LG1200 goes down to 180 and up to 600. And then of course, when you open up the sear station, it can go even higher. Don't know, I don't have pellets in here yet. I don't know if I should have put that in first, but this is the stage. This light is the light for inside the grill. This switches it between Fahrenheit and Celsius. And then this button you can use to switch, I think, between the stages and the amount of time. We'll take a look at that later. And then there's plus and minus to move through the certain things. So I'm going to turn that back off because we don't actually have any pellets in it. Maybe you have to hold it down. Yep, hold it down. Okay. So I'm going to load this up with pellets. Took the stickers off. I'll clean that up after. But we open this up to the auger. And I'm going to grab my pellets here. I put this on top of here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and load this with pellets. As mentioned before, doing everything one-handed is difficult. All right, here we go. And you can see as I load the pellets, they'll fall down into the auger. Decent amount of sawdust, which is not a big deal. We'll clean that out after on a different cook. Decent amount of sawdust. I'll have to clean that out another time, but you can see the pellets are in there now. I'll close the lid. So you can see I have all my components back in except for the griddle. I'm going to do the burn-in without it, 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. All right, so let's come on back here, press this on again. So you can hear the auger going, pulling the pellets through. Now it's set at 350, which is what I want it to do. So with the main barrel lid closed, you turn the unit on by pressing the power button. So that was my mistake. This will activate the startup cycle. The feed system will begin to turn. Oops, sorry. The fan will start and the igniter will begin to get hot. The grill will produce smoke while the startup cycle is taking place. The pellets will have successfully ignited once the smoke is cleared. The startup cycle lasts until the unit reaches a minimum temperature of 150 degrees Fahrenheit or the igniter times out at 24 minutes. Once the heavy white smoke has dissipated, the startup cycle is complete. You set your desired temperature to start grilling. Now again, this is just the burn-in stage. So we're just gonna let this thing go at 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. And then later tonight, I'm gonna cook my family some ribeye steaks. I'm gonna smoke them on here. And then I'm gonna use the direct sear function to do the reverse sear part of it, where I would normally put in a cast iron on my barbecue over there. Instead, I'm gonna do it directly on my Louisiana grill, which I'm pretty excited about. So I'm going to pause this video here until we start seeing the smoke. What's happening right now is this is a first burn-in. First time pellets are going through the auger. So it takes a little bit of time for the pellets to move through the auger to the burn pot. Each subsequent use, there will already be pellets within the auger, so it won't take nearly as long to start up because the pellets will simply start to push into the burn pot and ignite. So I will pause this until I start seeing something happen. As I mentioned, it is still only going through the auger as we speak. As you can see here, the temperature is definitely climbing. We started around 46, we're now at 84. There is smoke coming out of the back, but it is very minor. You can see all that trash from the packaging that I'm going to throw out, but there is some smoke happening, but not that thick, heavy smoke that the manual mentions happens on startup. So I'm sure that will come soon as the actual temperature continues to increase. All right, so I got my first error, ER2, which indicates that the grill failed to start up properly. And I'm thinking that's probably because it took a long time to get to the 150, as I mentioned before. So, power it off. And I'm gonna turn it back on here. And let's see if we can start it up again here. Now that the pellets are filling in, should be able to get to 150 within that 24-minute period, which we clearly did not before, likely due to the temperature here, as well as simply waiting for the pellets to feed through. And we just got up to actual temperature of 350, 352. So I'm going to start the timer now for 40 minutes to do the burn-in. So I've done the burn-in for 40 minutes now at roughly 350 degrees, some fluctuations up and down, which is normal with pellet grills, especially when the temperature's as cold as it is out here. It's not horribly cold, but you know, it's between 35 and 45. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the grill now. The way to shut down the grill is to simply hold down the power button for 3 seconds. What that'll do is it shuts off the pellet feed. So the smoker will no longer feed pellets from the hopper through the auger into the burn pot, but you may be able to hear the fan is still going. So the reason for that is that it will continue to blow the air through the fire pot, through the barrel, to avoid any burn back, meaning the fire won't burn back through the auger into the hopper and cause a fire in your hopper. So it'll keep doing that. It's called the shutdown cycle until the shutdown cycle is complete. And when it's complete, that means that the fire is pretty much out of the fire pot. It's not going to cause a problem going back, and it's just going to smolder and dissipate until everything burns out, and it'll shut off, at which point I will unplug the plug from the outlet, because I don't want to leave that plugged in. I don't want any kind of shorts or anything that might happen. And once it's completely cool in a normal scenario, I will put a cover on this to keep it safe from the elements. It's best to keep a cover on this to make sure that you can have this, the life of this, for as long as possible. Now later today, I'm gonna make some steaks on here because I really want to test out the sear feature, which is the main reason why I got this unit. But big shout out to my father who helped me put this together. You definitely need 2 people. And to my uncle and cousin who hooked me up with Danson's to be able to get this grill out here to New York. Of course, they ship everywhere, but I'm really excited to use this and grill up some steaks. So I'll do that in the next video. Anything that you have any questions on that I didn't touch on, feel free to drop me a comment, and I will do my best to answer it. Thanks a lot for following along.